What's up, nerds? It's Shane, back at it again. We're doing a $300 upgrade now with, what's the name of this deck, David?
The Ruinous Powers.
Thank you, the Ruinous Powers. The last one you did with the 100, you crushed. I loved it. But now I'm interested to see we give you an extra 200 bucks. What can you make happen, bud?
I love this, man. You should be like my hype man for all these
Hell
videos.
yeah.
So the face card of this deck is Abaddon the Despoiler, of which we decided not to use for the $100 version. However, I actually love both Abaddon and also Bellicor, so figure we're going to switch back and actually use the face commander this time
Ooh.
around for the $300 version. So two very different decks, two very different styles, all 100% fun.
Wait, so that actually gets me excited because that means you're probably not using the ads from the 100, right? The brand new holding deck?
This is a brand new deck. There
Holy
may be a
shit.
little bit, of overlap, but yeah, no, none of the like. We're not gonna do any of those like. And now these are the includes that made it from the $100 version. That's not gonna happen in this video.
Damn, dude. Okay, well, then let's just not let him wait.
So Abaddon the Despoiler is 2, a blue, a black, and a red for a total of 5 mana. He's a 5/5 legendary creature, Astartes warrior. He's got trample, and it says Mark of Chaos Ascendant. During your turn, spells you cast from your hand with mana value of X or less have Cascade, where X is the total amount of life your opponents have lost this turn. So essentially, the way that this deck works is we just want all of our things to have Cascade all the time and just be dealing tons of damage to our opponents to make sure that we can just cast everything off Cascade.
That's kind of nuts. Now then, don't keep me waiting, dude. Tell me what you're putting in here.
So Abaddon obviously wants her opponents to be constantly getting hit, which is great because I just love constantly hitting our opponents. However, combat step is whack, so we're going to go ahead and hit them really, really hard elsewhere.
Uh-huh.
To start this off, we're going to go ahead and add in a couple of creatures, and all these creatures, essentially what they have in common is that they hurt our opponents. So the first one here is Spear Spewer. This is a single red mana for a creature Goblin Warrior. It's a 0/2 with Defender, and you can tap him, and it says that he deals 1 damage to each player. So by tapping this guy, you'll hit each one of your opponents for 1. That's a total of 3 damage that you're going to be dealing, assuming that you have 3 opponents. Any spell that you have that costs 3 or less is going to have Cascade just from this guy tapping.
Damn.
Thermo Alchemist is pretty similar. He is 1 in a red for a 0/3 human creature shaman. He's got Defender. You can tap him to deal 1 damage to each opponent, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you can untap him. So you can potentially bounce him around a little bit, tap and untap to be able to hit even more. Shepherd of Rot is 1 in a black for a creature zombie cleric. It's a 1/1 and it has tap. Each player loses 1 life for each zombie on the battlefield. There actually are a couple of other zombies in this deck, so it's not impossible for you to have each player start losing 2, 3, 4 life just by tapping this. So this is going to turn Cascade on for basically your entire deck. In addition to that, if you are going up against like a zombie tribal or something like that, everybody's going to be in for a really bad time.
I see the theme of this deck so far, dude.
Oh, yes. Vile Smasher the Fierce is 1, a black, and a red for a legendary creature Goblin Berserker. He's a 2/3 and says whenever you cast your first spell each turn, he deals damage equal to that spell's converted mana cost to an opponent chosen at random. Heartless Hitsugu is one of our really heavy hitters in this deck. He is 3 and 2 red for a total of 5. He's a 4/3 legendary creature Ogre Shaman. He has tap. He deals damage to each player equal to half that player's life total rounded down. Just by tapping this, not only are you going to be able to just make your deck a huge threat by chopping off half of everybody's life total, but your entire deck will just instantly gain Cascade.
Dude, half of each I don't think what? That's nuts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he hits for a ton.
Holy shit.
Stormfist Crusader is a black and a red for a total of 2. He's a 2/2 creature human knight. It's got menace, and it says at the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card and loses 1 life. So sadly, your opponents are going to be drawing a card here, but that's totally fine. You're going to be drawing a card as well. And since they're each going to be losing 1 life, the chances are the card you just drew probably also has Cascade. And then lastly, to wrap this up for our creature support package, at least in this avenue, we have a Loyal Subordinate. This guy is 2 and a black for a creature zombie. It's a 3/1. It's got Menace and Lieutenant. It says at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, each opponent loses 3 life. So that's Cascade up to 9.
And it's a zombie, so Shepherd of the Rot. That's stupid.
Oh yeah, we have a couple of zombies in this deck. So
Yeah.
Shepherd of Rot actually can be really sneaky good.
Yeah. Yikes. Okay. I don't like any of those picks because they're really strong.
We like all of them.
All right. Well, what else? What else you got in this deck to show me?
So the next couple of creatures that we're going to talk about, these are all cards that we want to be able to put into play, and then they're going to benefit our Cascade package. So they're going to do some stuff that is going to make our Cascade even more nutty. The first one here is Wild Magic Sorcerer. This is 3 in red for a creature Orc Shaman. It's a 4/3, and it says the first spell you cast from exile each turn has Cascade. So that's really dope because whenever we Cascade, we actually cast that cascaded card from exile. So this gives our first card Cascade.
What?
Kind of.
So you're gonna cast the first one from Cascade, but then that one will also have Cascade. What you're saying?
Yeah, the first cascaded card will then cascade.
Dude, that's sick.
So just cast all the things.
Okay.
We also have Nalfeshni in this deck. This is 5 in red for a total of 6. It's a creature beast demon. It's 4/6 with flying. It says whenever you cast a spell from exile, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy, and if it's a permanent spell, the copy gains haste, and at the beginning of the next end step, sacrifice this permanent. Don't really care too much if we have to sacrifice it. I mean, if we're getting an additional permanent in play, whether it be one of our creatures, enchantments, so forth and so on, this is just going to generate a ton of value for us.
Yeah. Plus, like you just said, all your Cascade things have come out of exile, right? So everything's gonna
Yes,
be
there.
doubled.
Yeah. So
Good.
long as we are cascading, which the deck obviously it intends to do so.
Right. That's crazy.
And then the card that I think a lot of people are probably going to give me quite a bit of shit for because I have shat all over this card many times. We're going to include Prosper Tomebound in this. This is 2 a black and a red. It's a total of 4 mana. Legendary creature. It's a Tiefling Warlock. It's a 1/4 with Death Touch. It has Mystic Arcanum that says at the beginning of your end step, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. As well as Pact Boon. This says that whenever you play a card from exile, create a treasure token. Now,
Yes.
I'm not. I'm not really including Prosper in here for its first ability. Mystic Arcanum is nice that you have the ability to kind of like get that pseudo card draw. However, Pact Boon is absolutely insane in this deck. Anytime you cascade, you're going to be casting that spell from exile, which means you're also now going to be creating a treasure token for each card you cascaded in the turn. It's really not impossible for you to be able to start chaining this together where you're cascading 2 or 3 spells per turn, creating 2 or 3 treasure tokens, and then burning those treasure tokens to continue to cascade.
Yeah, that's actually pretty nuts. This is your redemption arc, dude. We're talking shit about Prosper. It's all good now. We're good. Full circle.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I still don't like the card, but he's really great in this deck.
Well, those are all amazing cards, David.
All right, so we have 2 other creatures I'm going to be throwing into this list. These are going to be helping just generally to help kind of support us. Obviously, we like mana, and then we're going to be able to need to help dig through our deck a little bit. So the first one here is Neheb the Eternal. This is 3 and 2 red for a total of 5. It's a legendary creature zombie Minotaur warrior. It's a 4/6, and it has Afflict 3. That says whenever this creature becomes blocked, the defending player loses 3 life. It also says that at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, you add a red mana to your mana pool for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. It's really not impossible for that to be netting 5, 6, 8, 10 red mana, which is going to mean you have the opportunity to cascade a ton and really be able to blow up your board.
This card seems very good in your deck, dude. I think it ticks every box so far that we've looked at. Does it hurt your
Oh yeah.
opponent? Yep. Does it make you mana? Yep. Is it a zombie? Yep.
Even the small little synergy is there. We also are going to include Florian Voldaren Scion in this list. He is 1 a black and a red. Legendary creature vampire noble. It's a 3/3 with first strike, and it says at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, look at the top X cards of your library where X is the total amount of life your opponents have lost this turn. Exile one of those cards and put the rest onto the bottom of your library in a random order. You may play the exiled card this turn. So he's going to allow us to be able to dig through our library very quickly, be able to grab key pieces that we need. In playtesting, I mean, this guy is absolutely nuts. It's not impossible for us to be able to look at like 15 cards down.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty easy include with the strat you're trying to do here. All right, well, we've seen some pretty crazy creatures. Anything else?
So we have 3 more creatures that are going to make the list for the $300 version. These are just kind of just generally good. The first one here is Jory Inn, Ruin Diver. It is 1, a blue, and a red for a total of 3. Legendary creature, Merfolk Wizard. It's a 2/3, and it says whenever you cast your second spell each turn, draw a card. That's dope because Cascade is still casting.
Wow.
So just draw a ton.
Okay.
We're going to be also throwing in Dothy Voidwalker. This is 2 black mana for a creature Dothy Rogue. It's a 3/2 with Shadow. Shadow says this creature can block or be blocked only by creatures with Shadow. So chances are this thing is just unblockable for 3. If a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, instead exile it with a void counter on it, and we can tap it and sacrifice it to choose an exiled card an opponent owns with a void counter on it. You may play it this turn without paying its mana cost.
I hate it.
I mean, Dothy Voidwalker is just such a good card, and I have a feeling that we're probably going to be smashing these decks up against each other, and I don't know why, but I have a feeling that at least one of you guys is going to try to abuse the graveyard, so Dothy Voidwalker is going to be one of my best friends.
No way. You think so?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This may be a tutor target.
Dude, you're also playing things out of the exile, so that's a really good inclusion.
Oh yeah, and the 3 damage on this with Shadow, nearly unblockable.
Not bad. Turn on some Cascade right there.
The last creature we're going to throw in here, I feel like I can't play a Grixis deck without including this just because of how much work this card silently does, is Nightscape Familiar. This is 1 and a black for a creature zombie. It's a 1/1 and it says blue spells and red spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and you can pay 1 and a black to regenerate it.
Yeah, that's a powerhouse card, dude, for sure. And it's a zombie.
Zombie.
Well, your deck is shaping up to be quite the beast, dude. But let's see. We got some instant sorcery cards to show me now, or what?
We do. So I'm going to be talking about a couple of pieces of interaction. The first one here that we're going to throw in is Terminate. For a red and a black, we get an instant that says destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. Similarly, we're going to be throwing in Feed the Swarm. This is 1 and a black for a sorcery. It says destroy target creature or enchantment an opponent controls. You lose life equal to that permanent's mana value. So you are going to get hurt for this, but the flexibility being able to pick up that enchantment here is also pretty nice. We want to keep this card in the deck.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Lastly, for this little piece is Rakdos Charm. Once again, I really wanted to double down on making sure I had some flexibility here. And I'm not going to lie, I'm definitely very scared of the robots deck. So Rakdos Charm made the list here too. It is a black and a red for an instant. It says choose 1. Exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Destroy target artifact. Or each creature deals 1 damage to its controller.
That seems like a hate include just for Steven.
Fun fact is actually not just for Steven. The destroy target artifact, I also was figuring your Bant deck. I forgot the name of it. Help me out here.
Forces of the Imperium.
Yeah, I figured Force of the Imperium would probably be a little bit artifact heavy as well. And then I know that Hunter ended up going in a different direction than this, but I thought he was going to be building a token style deck so that each creature deals 1 damage to its controller. I figured was probably going to do a lot of damage. I think that this card is actually really good in this matchup. And also just because, I mean, even at bare minimum, if you do happen to cascade into this and you don't have a target for the first 2 modes, you can always hit that last mode and then boom, your cascade is just like skyrocketed at that point.
That is true. Also, I'm in the token guy, so I better watch out.
There you go. We are going to be running a single counterspell in this deck. And I know, playing a Grixis deck and not including a ton of counterspells almost feels like blasphemy. However, our deck is so heavily focused on Cascade that we do not want to cascade into counterspells. They just whiff for us. They don't do anything. So our interaction kind of has to come through different sources. So the only counterspell we're going to be including here is Negate. It is 1 and a blue for an instant counter target non-creature spell.
Yeah, that's very true. I like the thought process there, bud.
And it hurts my heart to not include more counters, but we got to do it with this list.
I feel you. All right, well, you got anything that's a little more big, a little more scary, or what else you got?
Oh, we absolutely do. I had quite a bit of fun with this deck because this deck is actually incredibly cheap. So we can afford, for the $300 list at least, to put some more expensive spells
Let's see it.
inside this list. So the first one here is Jeska's Will. This is 2 and a red for a sorcery. It says choose 1. If you control your commander as you cast a spell, you may choose both. Add a red mana for each card in target opponent's hand, and exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn.
We all know that card sucks.
Oh yeah, horrible, horrible card. Even worse than this one though is the next one up, and that's Cyclonic Rift. It is 1 and a blue for an instant. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand, or you can overload this for 6 and a blue to return all non-land permanents you don't control to their owner's hands. Cyclonic Rift typically just ends the game, especially with a deck like this. It already likes to deal a lot of damage and swing in with big things.
I think it ends the game in the sense where your opponent just say, okay, I'm done.
I mean, probably. You're going to, if you use Cyclonic Rift appropriately, you're going to kill somebody. This is obviously not a card that you want to cascade into, just because then you're going to only be hitting one thing. But still, even in that case, it's got some flexibility.
True. Love this card.
Now, to wrap up the rest of the sorceries we're going to include in this deck, these are the 3 that make me the absolute most giddy and most happy about what we're going to be doing with our Cascade theme. The first one is Profane Tutor, which has no mana value. It's a sorcery. It says suspend 2 for 1 and a black. So the way that this works is that it says that rather than cast it from your hand, you can pay 1 and a black and exile it with 2 time counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter, and whenever the last is removed, you can cast it without paying its mana cost. That's cute and cool and all. We never actually want to suspend this. In fact, we don't actually ever even want to draw this card. It says, search your library for a card, put that card in your hand, then shuffle. The really wonderful thing about it is that if we cascade into this, this just searches our library for a card, put it in our hand, and then shuffle. And since it has 0 mana value, we can hit this off of literally any spell that we cast, so long as it has Cascade.
Okay.
Fun fact as well, we have a ton of 2-drops in this deck, and we have very few 1-drops in this deck. So any of our 2-mana rocks that we're going to be playing a ton of have the chance to also hit Profane Tutor and a couple of its friends.
That'd be nuts, dude. What's his friends?
The next one up here is Inevitable Betrayal. This one has suspend 3 for 1 and 2 blue. Once again, not probably ever going to want to do that. It says search target opponent's library for a creature card and put it on the battlefield under your control. Then that player shuffles.
What?
So yeah, just go search their library for their best thing or their combo piece and drop it on your board.
How is that even for 3, even if it's suspend? What the fuck?
It's great.
That's really good.
Lastly is not a very good draw spell. This one is Ancestral Vision. It's got suspend 4 for a single blue mana. It says target player, you're going to choose yourself, draws 3 cards.
So, you cascade, so for free, you just draw 3 cards.
That is the goal.
Yeah, that sounds, you probably should just cut that card now.
Yeah, they're all awful.
That's, okay, these are nuts, Dave.
Yeah, I love the fact that Abaddon can get all 3 of these in play. So I'm super excited to see what those can do.
Yeah. Gross. All right, well, what else you got? You got some enchantments to show us?
We are going to be including a couple of enchantments here. The first one that we got is Court of Ire. This is 3 and 2 red for an enchantment. It says whenever it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. So a little bit of card draw there. It also says at the beginning of your upkeep, Court of Ire deals 2 damage to any target. If you're the monarch, it deals 7 damage to that player or permanent instead. So if we can keep the monarchy, 7 damage is enough to probably just deal with whatever creature they have, or just be able to smack them in the face for 7, and then boom, Cascade is just live.
Yeah. I was like just kind of reading along with you, and then you said 7, and my eyes got huge. Like, holy shit. That's quite the upside for being the monarch.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. Similarly to that one, there is another version of this. It's in black. It's called Court of Ambition. It costs 2 and 2 black for a total of 4. We're going to be throwing it in the deck as well. It says whenever it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 3 life unless they discard a card. If you are the monarch, instead, each opponent loses 6 life unless they discard 2 cards.
I know this card sucks too.
And then lastly here for this, for our little enchantment package, it's just kind of be supporting our commander. We have Passionate Archaeologist. This is 1 and a red for a legendary enchantment background. It says commander creatures you own have, whenever you cast a spell from exile, this creature deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent.
That seems perfect for your commander.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
So we can just start cascading and just start pummeling things.
Yeah. That's insane. Hey, look, a background, dude.
Yeah, we managed to make a background work.
You did it.
We have one more enchantment in this deck, and since we're not going to be throwing in some counter spells, I figured I got to pay tribute to the blue players somehow, and that's going to be with Rhystic Study, which is 2 and a blue for an enchantment. It says whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1.
Tried and true Ristic, dude. Love it.
Yep. Did
Great,
you pay the
great
1?
include. You gonna pay the 1? Better than you gonna pay the 2.
I mean, those they're both pretty damn good.
I agree. All right. So are you gonna be adding any kind of ramp to this deck, or what are you doing here?
So this Precon straight out of the box is absolutely abysmal whenever it comes to mana ramp. So yes, we have got to fix that a ton. We're going to be throwing in Felwar Stone. I'm not going to go through that. I figure you probably know what it does by this point. Same thing with Arcane Signet. We're also going to be throwing in Dimir and Rakdos Signets, which are both 2 mana. They come in, you can pay 1 mana for Rakdos Signet, tap it, and tap it and add a black and a red. And then Dimir Signet, you can tap it and add a blue and a black.
Yep, just a little bit of mana fixing. Makes sense to me, buddy.
Yep. Also, all 2-drops, which works really well with the fact that our deck has very few 1-drops. The chances are that could also be a demonic tutor. I mean, profane tutor, but realistically, they do the same thing so long as you're cascading into them.
That's true.
We have 1 planeswalker that's going to be good enough to make the cut here. This is Chandra, Torch of Defiance. It costs 2 and 2 red for a total of 4. Obviously, it's a planeswalker Chandra. Comes in with 4 loyalty. Its first mode is a +1. It says exile the top card of your library. You may cast that card. If you don't, Chandra, Torch of Defiance deals 2 damage to each opponent. Its second +1 says add 2 red mana to your mana pool. Its -3 says it deals 4 damage to target creature. And its ultimate at -7 says you get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell, this emblem deals 5 damage to target creature or player.
Yeah, I feel like you're just gonna be plussing them and making sure your cascade's turned on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The +1 helps us make sure that our cascade is always good or that we got the mana to be able to cast our things. And in the case we ever do hit that -7, I mean, when we cast a spell, it's going to cascade, so that's going to hit for 10.
Yeah, I feel like if your planeswalker ults, you're probably winning the game.
We're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah. That's insane, Dave. I guess let's round it out. Did you do anything with the mana base? Are you happy with it? What's going on?
Oh, you're going to be happy with it here in a moment.
Oh,
This deck, as I happened to mention earlier, the upgrades for it were relatively cheap. I had quite a bit of money left over whenever it comes to the mana base.
damn.
In fact, I had a little bit more than I think it was like $60 to play around with lands.
Boom.
So we made this mana base hum.
I'm
We're gonna be-
excited.
We're going to be including Shipwreck Marsh, Storm-Carved Coast, and Haunted Ridge. These are all lands that came out with the Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow set. They say that they enter the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands, and then they tap for 1 of 2 different colors of our color commander, respectively. So blue-red, blue-black, or black-red.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to throw in 2 check lands here. We have Dragon Skull Summit and Drowned Catacomb. They enter the battlefield tapped unless you control 1 of the 2 basic land types that they care about, and they can each tap for 1 of 2 different colors. City of Brass and Mana Confluence can tap to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, but whenever you do, that'll deal 1 damage to you. And Xander's Lounge is the Triome in Grixis colors. So it enters the battlefield tapped, and then later on can tap for either a black, a red, or a blue, or you can cycle it away for 3. We also have all 3 of the Arena/Battle Bond, don't remember what we call these lands. We have Luxury Suite, Morphic Pool, and Training Center. The way that they work is they enter the battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents, and they tap for 1 of 2 different colors. We have all 3 of the pathways that work for this color combination as well. That's Blightstep Pathway, Clearwater Pathway, and Riverglide Pathway. The way that these work is you can put them onto the battlefield either for their front half, which will allow you to tap for 1 of their colors of mana, or for the back half, which will allow you to tap for their alternative color of mana. Sulphurous Springs and Underground River are both pain lands. You can have them tap to add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, or you can have them tap to add 1 of 2 different colors to your mana pool. But whenever you do, it'll deal 1 damage to you. And then lastly here, we have a good old Bajuka Bog. It says it enters battlefield tapped, and whenever it does, exile target player's graveyard. Later on, you can tap it for a black.
Poor Steven.
If you didn't notice, like looking at these decks get spoiled, I immediately thought, Steven is a combo player and he's going with a combo deck. I've got to be able to fight off the robots somehow.
Yeah. That's a really, really strong mana base, dude. I'm
Yeah,
not
I'm
gonna
not
lie.
gonna lie. The mana base on this is, I mean, without going with fetches and shocks, is just about as good as I could possibly make it.
Yeah,
Um, which is great because obviously we want to be casting as many things per turn. We don't want to end up having problems with our mana.
yeah. That's great, dude. That's great. Well, I'm loving the additions, man. We gotta do the part that literally no one enjoys doing because you gotta say goodbye to some cards, man.
Oh, I enjoy doing it. Some of these cards suck.
Well, then I guess I'll just let you, what, rapid fire say bye bye to things?
All right. So there was an Astartes package inside this deck when we first got it out of the box. That's gone. Aside from our commander, really.
Poor Astartes, dude.
So the first one here is Karn the Betrayer. This is 3 and a red for a legendary creature, Astartes Berserker. It's a 5/1. It says that it attacks or blocks each combat if able. That whenever we lose control of Karn the Betrayer, we draw 2 cards. And if damage would be dealt to Karn the Betrayer, prevent that damage, an opponent of our choice gains control of it. The way that this card is worded is you could give this to an opponent and then never actually get this back. So your opponents just bounce it between themselves and just draw 2 cards over and over and over again.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, the card is actually, I think it's just bad. Knight Rampager is 4 and a red for an artifact creature knight. It's 6/5 with trample. It says at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose an opponent at random. It attacks that player this combat if able, and whenever it dies, it deals 4 damage to a target opponent chosen at random. Just didn't really care much for the random factor on this, and all in all, tried to lower their mana curve a little bit, so this one got the cut. Hellbrute is 3 a black and a red for an artifact creature, Astartes Dreadnought. It's a 5/4 with haste. It says that you may cast it from your graveyard by exiling another creature card from your graveyard, in addition to paying its other costs. This is not a deck that wants to be throwing a ton of creatures into the graveyard, so this is probably just a 5 mana 5/4 that's just going to not do a whole lot past that point. Lucius the Eternal is 3 a black and a red for a legendary creature. It's an Astartes Warrior. It's a 5/3 with haste, and it says whenever it dies, exile it and choose target creature an opponent controls. Whenever that creature leaves the battlefield, return Lucius the Eternal from exile to the battlefield under its owner's control. There's no guarantee that we're going to be able to get this thing back in the case that it does end up dying, and 5 mana for a 5/3 with haste with really no other relevant abilities is not something I'm here for.
I feel that.
Tallyman of Nurgle is 2 and a black for a total of 3. He's a creature Astartes Warrior. It's a 2/3 with lifelink. It says at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, you draw a card and lose 1 life. If 7 or more creatures died this turn, instead you draw 7 cards and you lose 7 life. I don't know if this card is really good or really bad. I know that the Gristlebrand is incredibly powerful. Something about hitting myself for 7 and possibly not being able to control whenever that happens scares the shit out of me, though.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe if this guy was like a 7/7, that would gain you 7 life. You know, just reprint Gristlebrand.
There you go. Gristlebrand, great in this deck. I mean, reprint Gristlebrand, unban
Yeah,
Gristlebrand.
whatever. That's what I meant. Yeah.
All right. Lastly, on this not super relatable page, we have Aspiring Champion. This is 3 and a red for a creature, Astartes Warrior. It's a 3/3 with Menace. It says whenever it deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that creature card onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest into your library. And if that creature is a demon, it deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. We still have demons in this deck, but our chances of whiffing in this version is actually, well, it's a lot higher.
Yeah.
So,
I get it.
speaking about demons and demons we ended up removing here, we removed a lot of them.
I see
The
that.
first one, the first one here that's going to get the axe or the sword is Bellicor the Dark Master. He is 3 a blue, a black, and a red for a legendary creature, Demon Noble. It's a 6/5 with flying. It says whenever it enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of demons you control. And whenever another demon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to his power to any target. I love this card. The $100 video was actually built around this guy, but I did want to take this deck in a different direction, and I thought, you know what? He doesn't care about cascading at all, and for 6 mana, he's kind of expensive.
Oh, how the high demon have fallen.
Still love the dude. Great Unclean One, almost read that as Great Uncle One,
Ugh.
is 4 and a black for a creature demon. It's a 4/5. It says at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 2 life. Then, for each opponent who has less life than you, you create a 1/3 black demon creature token named Plague Bearer of Nurgle. We really want to be able to try and cascade things on our first main phase. That's why I included so many pingers. This thing triggering on end step is just a little too late for us.
And step of your 4th turn, potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Or 5th turn, sorry.
Exalted Flamer of Tzincha. I think I nailed that pronunciation.
You did it.
It is 2 a blue and a red for a creature demon. It's a 2/4. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, return an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard to your hand, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. The random aspect on this card, not necessarily here for it, and the demon tribal is also kind of gone, so this is getting the cut. Herald of Slaanesh? Herald of Slaanesh.
Yep.
Hey, Scottish. Is 2 and a red for a creature demon. It's a 2/2. It says demon spells you cast cost 2 less to cast, and other demons you control have haste. I love this card. This is like what basically made me want to build Be'lakor for the $100. The demons are going away though, so is this guy.
That makes sense.
Mortaria and Demon Primarch is 5 and a black for a legendary creature demon Primarch. It's a 5/6 with flying. It says that at the beginning of your end step, you may pay X. If you do, create X 2/2 black Astartes for your creature tokens with menace. X can't be greater than the amount of life you lost this turn. Venom Crawler is 3 and a black for an artifact creature demon. It's a 2/2 with lifelink. It says whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Venom Crawler. I'm going to kind of speed through these because for the most part, the reason we got rid of them is just because they're demons and they're not really doing a whole lot with their current theme. Pink Horror is 3 a blue and a red. It's a creature demon horror. It's a 4/4, and it says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 2 damage to any target. And whenever it dies, you create 2 2/2 blue and red demon creature tokens. Target. Bloodthirster is 5 and a red for a creature demon. It's a 6/6 with flying and trample. It says whenever it deals combat damage to a player, untap it. After this combat phase, there is an additional combat phase. It can't attack a player that has already been attacked this turn. And Seeker of Slaanesh is 3 and a red for a creature demon. It's a 3/3 with haste, and it says each opponent must attack with at least 1 creature each combat if able.
Get the demons out of here, man. Purge them.
Demons be gone. I command thee.
Alright, so you just cut a shitload of creatures. But you added other things like instant sorceries. Are you going to cut any of those out? What are you doing?
Oh yeah, a lot of the instants and sorceries that came in this Precon were bad. So we're going to get rid of a lot of bad cards.
Okay.
The first one they're going to end up removing here is Blight Grenade. This is 4 and a black for a sorcery. It says destroy target creature, then all creatures get -3/-3 until end of turn. That includes our board, and we have a lot of little things now, so I don't really want to kill one of our opponent's things and then nuke our board.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Yeah, Bile Blight is 2 black for an instant, says target creature and all other creatures with the same name as that creature get -3/-3 until end of turn. I'm not necessarily a big fan of this card either. In hindsight, probably pretty good up against that Esper deck, seeing as how it likes to make a lot of tokens.
Yeah, my tokens will go bye-bye.
We also have Chaos Mutation that we're going to get rid of here. This is 3 a blue and a red for an instant. It says exile any number of target creatures controlled by different players. For each creature card exiled this way, its controller reveals the cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card, put that card onto the battlefield. Then they put the rest on the bottom of their library in a random order. This is like a big Chaos Warp that costs more mana and guarantees they hit.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, that seems like a good Chaos War.
It's I mean, it's more expensive, and you cannot whiff on this.
Right, I mean good for me as I'm getting Chaos Warped. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
That seems bad.
But Ruinous Blast is 3 a black and a red. It's an instant. It says Cascade. It also says it deals 4 damage to target creature. It's a weak removal spell that is super expensive because it says Cascade on it. We're going to be giving our things Cascade. I don't care if they already have it, and especially if we're getting like straight up taxed out the butthole because it's, I don't know. This card is way too expensive for what it does.
True.
Kill, main, burn. I'm going to continue to say it that way because that's how I said it in the 100, is 3 a black and a red for an instant. It says choose 1 or more, destroy target artifact, destroy target creature, or kill, maim, burn. Deals 3 damage to target player. For 5 mana, I'm not impressed.
You're so stupid.
I love it, dude.
Hey, wait.
Nurgle's Conscription is 4 and a black for an instant. It says Put target creature card from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control, then exile that player's graveyard. I actually do like this card. I just don't like 5 mana.
I mean, I wouldn't like 5 mana either.
Reverberate is going to be getting the cut here as well. It's 2 red mana for an instant. It says copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. This card is cool. This card absolutely sucks ass whenever you cascade into it.
Yeah.
And then lastly here on the just kind of, well, bad package is Deny Reality. This is 3 a blue and a black for a total of 5. It's a sorcery with Cascade, and it says return target permanent to its owner's hand. For 5 whole mana, you get a bounce.
I'm seeing a theme that these cards you cut have a very high CMC.
Oh yeah, I mean that's part of the deck. Is it's basically 5 and up mana value tribal. If you think those cards were expensive though, just wait.
Oh god. All right. Well, what else? Show me the just wait part.
All right, here we go. Thank you for your patience. I know for those of you at home listening, that was definitely a long time. This next one here is Blood for the Blood God. It is 8, 2 black, and a red for a massive and completely ridiculous 11 mana. It's an instant. It says this spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature that died this turn. It also says discard your hand, then draw 8 cards. Blood for the Blood God deals 8 damage to each opponent, then exile Blood for the Blood God. That's a lot of damage, and that's a lot of card draw, and this is a card that I'm never going to be able to cast.
I'm imagining you do a board wipe and then you cast this for 3, but I see where you're coming from.
Okay, let's go ahead and let's talk about that, because the board wipe that was included in this deck that it wanted you to go ahead and cast before that is also getting removed, and that's Decree of Pain. It's 6 and 2 black for a total of 8 mana, which, by the way, in order to do this, you would still need 11 mana in the course of a turn. It's a sorcery, and it says destroy all creatures. They can't be regenerated. Draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. It's got a cycling ability on it for 3 and 2 black, and it says whenever you cycle Decree of Pain, all creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn.
All right, you got me.
Yeah, you're never casting Blood for the Blood God.
But it's so cool.
I mean, it's cool. It's awesome. It does a lot of things. You're never getting it. Also, here is Let the Galaxy Burn. This is X5 and a red. I love X spells, especially whenever they cost 6 to start. It's a sorcery. It's got Cascade, and it says Let the Galaxy Burn deals X plus 2 damage to each creature that didn't enter the battlefield this turn. So it could potentially be like a one-sided board wipe. It could also potentially be a card that does absolutely nothing. And because that X is going to be so expensive, I just don't think this card is playable.
Awesome card name though.
Oh yeah, dude, it's dope. I mean, this whole deck has some freaking dope names. Blood for the Blood God, fucking cool.
Pretty cool.
I'm just never casting it.
All right. Well, what else you got? You got any junk to get out of there or what, dude?
Oh hell yeah, we do. The first one here is Nurgle's Rot. It's a single black mana for an enchantment aura. It says enchant creature an opponent controls. Whenever enchanted creature dies, return Nurgle's Rot to its owner's hand, and you create a 1/3 black demon creature token named Plague Bearer of Nurgle. We're not a token deck. We're no longer a demon deck. I don't care about this card.
Yeah.
Drakngen is 4 a black and a red. I don't know what it is about all these cards, but they really want me to say it with like some oomph.
Yeah, they bring the German out of you, dude.
this card especially. It's a legendary artifact equipment. It says whenever it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target creature. It's also got the equipment that says equipped creature has menace and gets +X/+O, where X is the exiled card's power, and it's got an equip of just 2.
Okay. A lot of mana.
It is a lot of mana, and that's kind of just initially why we cut it. It's a cool effect, and I mean, you could definitely pump the hell out of one of your things, but we're hoping to deal damage in other ways. And for 6 mana, this is just not very efficient. Assault Suit is 4 mana for an artifact equipment. It says equipped creature gets +2/+2, has haste, can't attack you or planeswalkers you control, and can't be sacrificed. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may have that player gain control of the equipped creature until end of turn. If you do, untap it. It's cool. It comes in as a wrecking ball. The card actually doesn't have indestructible or anything like that, so they can just kind of, block it and kill it. So, still not here for Assault Suit.
Yeah.
The Horus Heresy is 3 a blue, a black, and a red for a total of 3 mana. It's a enchantment saga. All right, for 1, it says for each opponent, gain control of up to 1 target non-legendary creature that player controls for as long as the Horus Heresy remains on the battlefield. For 2, it says draw a card for each creature you control but don't own. And for 3, it says starting with you, each player chooses a creature. Destroy each creature chosen this way. This can kill our commander, and we just don't want to do that.
That sucks.
Worn Power Stone is a card that I'm just not really a big fan of. It's a 3 mana rock. It enters the battlefield tapped. Later on, you can tap it to add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. I'm not a big fan of 3 mana rocks to begin with, and especially whenever they come in tapped. Wayfarer's Bauble is also going to be getting the axe here. I know some of you at home are crying about that. It's a single mana for an artifact. It has an ability where you can pay 2, tap it, sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle. Now, Wayfarer's Bauble is not a bad card. It's actually a pretty solid card. But the reason why I wanted to get rid of this is because it costs 1 mana. And I know that sounds a little bit odd, but what we really want to be doing is dropping our 2 drops and then cascading into those free things. I really don't want to cascade into Wayfarer's Bauble.
Yeah. Or play this and then cascade and hit your card and be like, oh, I can't play it. Shit.
And then in addition here, we're also going to be cutting Brainstorm, much for the same reason. Brainstorm, just a single blue mana. It's an instant. It says draw 3 cards and put 2 cards from your hand on the top of your library in any order. Brainstorm is a card that I didn't actually want to cut in this deck. It was the very last card that I cut. But just kind of for the same reason, it's a 1 mana spell. I don't really want to cascade into a Brainstorm. I feel like there's better options out there, obviously, that I could potentially hit. So sadly, we did cut it.
Bummer. But, all right. Got through all that stuff. Last but not least, you did change your mana base around quite a bit.
Oh,
Made
yeah.
it amazing. So what did you have to cut to make the mana base amazing?
Oh my goodness, this deck has so many bad lands. All right, so let's go ahead. The first one here that we're going to get rid of is Molten Slag Heap. It's a land that you can tap for a colorless mana. Or if you like to pay mana to have your lands do anything, you can pay 1, tap it, and put a storage counter on it. And if you really like to pay mana to have your lands do things, you can pay a mana and then remove X storage counters from it. You add X mana in any combination or black or red. You have to pay mana and sink it into this to eventually have this thing produce mana.
Yeah, it's a storage, bro.
It's so bad.
I'm glad it's gone.
This is a 3-color deck. This is not okay.
Yeah.
Next up here, we have Path of Ancestry. It enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. And whenever that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, you scry 1. This card actually pretty solid with all the demons that were originally included. However, we're not using the demon tribal commander for this. So, no.
I feel you.
Temple of the False God is one of my least favorite lands in the entire history of the game. This card is absolute fucking awful. You can tap it to add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool, but more than likely what's going to happen is you're going to have this in your opening hand, you're going to cry, you're going to fall behind, and you're going to wonder why it is that your opponent's got to play Magic while you sat there and just watched.
I made it really feel. Jesus Christ.
Dismal Blackwater enters the battlefield tapped. It does gain you 1 whole life, and then later on it'll tap for either a blue or a black.
Bad.
Foreboding Ruins is another card that I hate. It says, as it enters the battlefield, you may reveal a swamp or a mountain card from your hand. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it later on for a black or a red. This card is great if you have a ton of basics or if you're just playing in like 2 colors, in which case this card is totally fine. I'm not here for a 3-color deck, and as we're getting ready to talk about, I removed quite a bit of basic lands.
Yeah, I think check lands are way better than the reveal lands or whatever.
Yeah. We're going to be getting rid of Sunken Hollow. It's a land that is an island and a swamp. You can tap it for either a blue or a black, and it says it enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. Just mentioned I cut some basic lands. We're going to talk about those here in a moment. So Sunken Hollow, really not all that great. Forgotten Cave and Barren Moor. They're both lands that come into play tapped. They have a cycling ability on them. Forgotten Cave, you can tap, or you can cycle away for a red, and Barren Moor, you can cycle away for a black. I don't care about cycling in this deck. I care about the fact that these come in tapped, and to be completely honest with you, I'd rather have a basic than these almost every time.
Yeah, it doesn't even have basic land cycling. It just has cycling. Weird.
Yeah. Terramorphic Expanse and Evolving Wilds, the way that these work is you can tap them, sacrifice them, search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. The way that I look at these cards is they are basically just going to have a basic land come in tapped, which, once again, not super stoked for, not really here for it. They do mana fix you at least, so that's a plus, but we have better lands.
We do. And you did.
And then lastly, we hate basic lands up in here. We're going to be removing 2 swamps, 3 islands, and 2 mountains to make way for all the other goodies that we have thrown in this deck.
So how many land? So what's your land count out there right now?
In total, we have 37 lands in this deck.
Okay, that's very respectable. Okay, I like it.
Oh yeah, I mean it's still a ton of lands, and like we'll still be able to cast just about everything in this deck.
Well, right on, man. You did it. How do you feel about this deck?
I think that this deck is absolutely just a blast to play. In all honesty, Abaddon seems completely nuts. If he is able to connect, because I mean you got to figure he's a 5/5 with trample on his own. So just by him hitting and dealing combat damage, you're probably live for all the cards in your deck. And then you can also just make sure that you don't even need to swing with him, that you can start cascading before combat. With all of our little guys that just go into ping. This is the deck that if you are able to get that cascade live and working, your opponents are going to be begging for a board wipe very quickly.
That's awesome, dude. So we gave you that Magic Monopoly money of 300. What did you come out to?
As of the time of whenever I put this together, which was a couple of days ago at this point, so I do apologize if the price is not exact. It came out to $298.12.
Not bad. At least you didn't cheat like me, dude. You did a good job. You stayed under 300 bucks.
That's what I do, dude. I look at that. I know numbers.
What a great ending. I know numbers. Well, do you have any final thoughts? I know you just talked a lot about the deck. Anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah, I don't know. My only other thought on this is I think this deck is actually pretty solid if you're interested in going to go pick one up. I don't know what it's worth, but I give it my seal of approval. The mana base on this deck is honestly one of the worst I've ever seen, so that's definitely going to be something that I think you should probably attack first. But even out of the box, I mean, I think that this is a fun deck. It's incredibly unstructured, but the commanders are dope.
Right on, man. All right, man. Well, thank you for this upgrade. That was amazing. Everyone that's stuck around this long, don't forget to subscribe to Guys at Magic. We've got 300 decks coming out the wazoo. We got so many upgrades coming out. Hit us with a like. Give us some feedback. Comment below. Let David know, did you like his ads? Did you didn't like his ads? Give us some feedback. And like always, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Guys at Magic. We post stuff all the time. And until next time, this is Guys at Magic. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.